Hey, what's up everybody? Video 44 coming at you with another video. Alright, so sitting here waiting for my meal to heat up. Got the wobbly legs because I worked out a little too much this week and probably should have gave myself a rest day and decided not to. So I'm tired as heck. Don't have it in me to continue doing any more workouts. So hey, I figured I'd give you guys a little bit of content here. And what is on my mind is, of course, now the Lakers are headed back to I like to call it the drawing board, but that's probably not the best analogy. But they're headed back to figure out everything with Russell Westbrook being a part of the roster to start the season. LeBron James tweeted this morning, he's excited. He can't wait to see Russell get back out there. And it's one of those situations where it was funny to me in a way that I remember it on a specific video that I made. I was just having one of my random rants, and what I essentially said was, everybody who is still on the roster, if you're still on the threshold, behind the threshold of the team's roster, then you need to play ball with the team in order to remain in a position of flexibility. You know, there's two kinds of flexibility in the NBA. One kind of flexibility is in your flexibility with your cap space. The other is in that way. And you want to maintain both. So as I look at this team, the Lakers, they're trying to maintain the understanding that, we don't want to be forced to give up 2 picks for any deal that we make. So the most important thing that we can do to try to maintain leverage is to look as if we are excited about starting the season with Russell Westbrook, to look as if we have a plan for Russell Westbrook, even though the fit doesn't appear to look great, to look as if we're excited about his contract expiring at the end of this season. Those are things that make it look as if it's not that urgent to move him, and in fact, he's a piece you desire to keep, so somebody had better pay in order to let you let go of it. That's what you want to appear to look like. It's hard to do that when you have the issue that Russell had with the agent, you know what I mean? And then you have the optics of the situation at the Summer League where him and Bron were on opposite ends. That took away leverage in and of itself, because it appeared as if Russell wanted to leave and LeBron James was excited about him leaving. And that is enough to make it difficult to move him at a price the Lakers want. So when you apply that logic to everything else, when you understand leverage as we've been learning about it, when you apply that logic to the Brooklyn Nets situation, you understand that they effectively needed to appear the same way. They need to. And what I was saying in that video that I'm referring to was, once you cross over that threshold, even though you have your eyes, like for example, even though Kyrie Irving had his eyes on the Lakers all summer long, to effectively become a Laker, he needed to not look as if he's eager to get to the Lakers, because that then takes away the leverage that his team has to effectively move him to the Lakers, because now the trade is harder to make. It's harder to get a trade you can agree to. So for KD's situation, looking at his situation, we understood that he was playing the game a certain way. He was calling for a trade, not because he necessarily wanted to be traded, but because he was trying to get other things done in the organization. And he was bluffing and all of that to get those things done. But once it became clear that those things couldn't be done, it was either one or two things that was going to happen. Either he was going to tuck his tail in between his legs and go back to the team and play, or he was going to have to hold out. Well, that's not a good play, because that hurts KD and everybody else too. If he holds out, even though normally in normal circumstances he'd probably be able to get a solution out that way, because collective bargaining agreement negotiations are right ahead, this would murk up the situation more so than he probably would stand to benefit from by playing it that way right now. So in order to effectively get moved, if KD went back to Brooklyn and said, I don't care, move me, the most effective way to accomplish that is the formula we've already said. Make it look as if no one wants to leave, so your price can be where it needs to be, and then they can make a move. So what I'm telling you is, KD going back to Brooklyn and saying trade me, and KD going back to Brooklyn and saying I want to play for you guys looks the same way if they're doing it properly. It's the same. It looks the exact same way because they have to effectively keep their leverage in order to get a deal that they can effectively make happen. One of the reasons why they couldn't make a deal, the main reason why they couldn't make a deal is because they appeared weak. We talked about it all summer long. Sean Marks looked weak to me from a leverage standpoint because of not only the circumstances with them wanting out and the Kyrie situation looking and appearing as it does, but also because of how he traded a first-round pick for Royce O'Neal. At the time, we didn't understand that price was the going rate for the summer. So it's one of those situations where it's like he appeared weak and needed to try to regain leverage, and still will need to regain leverage if he were going to try to move any of those big pieces that he has in place. Not only that, but the presence of the Ben Simmons contract situation makes it so that it's even more so important that they lean on leverage in order to make a deal done. Why? Because even in deals that they would have agreed upon, like Miami, they can't make that deal because of the presence of Bam Adebayo's contract. So when you understand that, you know that they can't move. It's like double the resistance against them making trades in a conventional way with this trade demand in place. So if everybody understands what they need to do, then they need to come back to the drawing board. Both the Lakers and the Nets need to appear as if they are on the same side, which is why I said that they needed not to act as if they're not on the same side if they have yet to not cross the team's threshold. As long as you're still behind their paywall, it benefits you to appear aligned with the roster. That's why if I wanted to trade, I wouldn't tell anybody I want to trade but the GM and the owner, because then they can effectively maneuver such a thing to happen. Once the media gets a hold of it, especially a player that big, it's impossible to move because now the field understands the need for that team to move them, and everybody's looking for a discount. I ain't gonna pay regular price if I know I don't have to. So that's what they ran into all summer long. They couldn't move him. And then you got Danny Ainge asking for so much for Donovan Mitchell, and it put a glaring understanding on the difference between a player's price tag who's demanding out and a player whose price tag is not demanding out in an inflated market. So it's like, yo, the Nets can't make a trade to get Ben Simmons out of there because of that need that everybody's aware of. So Ben Simmons' trade value is on the ground. They wouldn't be able to get fair value for him without this leverage. You see what I'm saying? They can't do nothing until KD, Kyrie, and everybody else comes back to the drawing board and says, we are a united front, and everything that we have is priced properly, so pay for it at that. And so that's what you're looking at. Or everybody's headed back to the drawing board to play basketball for the Nets. It looks the same way. That's what I'm here to tell you. That looks identical to itself. So, yeah. That's why I don't know what I'm looking at. That's why I don't want the Lakers to make the Pacer trade, because I don't actually believe that Kyrie Irving's off the table any more so than he was 2 months ago. Nothing in my mind has changed because of what it is that I appear to see. And judging by the fact that the Lakers have yet to make the Indy move, I think someone in the back of the room understands that, if not everybody. At the end of the day, as I made this video a million times, so forgive me, but it just comes down to, with Brooklyn's situation particularly, they got to have Josiah agree to pay Kyrie Irving multiple years in order to justify keeping him on at that price tag for the remainder of the season. See, that's the thing. They're a win-now team. He's at $36 million. They have to fill out the rest of the roster to make that make sense. And if they're evaluating Kyrie Irving's value properly, then they understand he's not going to play 82 games, as to which that price tag is irresponsible for them to keep that on tab for this year. Unless they give him an extension and have him on tab for multiple years, as to which you look at it differently. So if that extension were to be, offered to Kyrie Irving, I would then ask, do they have contingencies on it? Is there anything on there that would make it so that he has to take the vaccine? And in my mind, the answer is yes, because it's responsible for the Brooklyn Nets to assure that they don't have a repeat of last year. Look at the other situation. Now, is Kyrie going to go for that? Not if he doesn't believe he's going to be able to get the deal he's looking for. Certainly not if it has contingencies on it. Absolutely not. I don't imagine he would. So these are the type of things that I'm looking at, and I'm saying, well, unless he's willing to take the vaccine, I don't see any reason why the Brooklyn Nets would assume that he's the guy for them. Going forward, they're not going to be able to give him that extension that would make $36 million price tag on him, a player that's going to play limited games in theory, make any sense. Makes none. So I look at things from an organizational standpoint, and I understand that Joe Tsai probably wants Kyrie Irving to be on a certain contingency plan in order to feel comfortable paying him multiple years. And I don't believe that Kyrie Irving's side of the fence is going to shake on that at all. So they can try to play out, the beginning of the season, but eventually they're going to come to the understanding that they need to crap or get off the pot when it comes to Kyrie Irving. Either you're going to give him the contract that you're looking to give him, that he's looking to receive rather, or you're going to watch him walk at the end of the season. Now maybe everything aligns and everybody, he has an all-star year, maybe an all-NBA season or something crazy like that. They win the NBA championship, and then you just assume everybody resigns and everything goes great. That's a wonderful scenario. I'm happy you see that if you do. But as for myself, I don't see that. That's not what I see. As I broke down the roster, they have a lot of injury players that are coming back from season-long injuries that they're going to be relying upon heavily this season, players that they've yet to have proven in terms of development, players that they're going to be relying upon this season. And, of course, their core who has their own issues with missing games as a unit. And I just don't think that is the best way to build short or long term, to be honest with you. So I look at the Brooklyn Nets and believe all of that, and I believe they, to a degree, believe all of that as well. And because of it, I've come to the conclusion, more than once, obviously, if you follow me, that the Lakers need to call that bluff and hold those 2 picks. You can make all the moves for Beverly and all this other stuff is great, but as long as you hold on to the 2 picks that will require us to get Kyrie Irving, we're still in a position to win a championship. That's my mentality. We're still in a position to win a championship. Once you make the move for the Pacer deal, if it don't have more to it than what's being rumored, it ain't enough. Buddy Hield and Miles Turner ain't enough, especially Miles Turner coming off a year where he almost missed the entire season. I didn't forget that. I know a lot of people don't know that. That man missed probably about 50 games. So if you're serious about Miles Turner, understand that you have to temper your expectations as to what it is that you expect him to come back as versus what it is he's been for the last 12 years. These are the things that I consider when I know we have about 4 or 5 centers, including Jay Huff, that we're going to want to play. What does bringing him in actually do for the overall roster? If you're not shaving off some of those bigs that you just picked up, you're rendering us having too many bigs, not enough wings. And it's just a lot of stuff that you look at and you say, okay, that Pacer deal doesn't look as good as people think. It does not. Now you got Thomas Bryant not playing enough minutes. Now you got Juan Toscano Anderson probably not playing enough minutes. It's a lot of different things that shake around when you bring in yet another center on top of what we have. Wenyen Gabriel's minutes are going to be a little funny. And that's not to mention the fact that there could be some small ball opportunities, given the fact that we do like playing Anthony Davis at the 5 and Braun at the 4. So all of this considered, I just say we're not going to probably get the most out of Miles Turner if we do bring him in. So I'm telling y'all, man, I'm holding my 2 picks for Kyrie. And if I can't get Kyrie, I may consider making a move like that. You know what I'm saying? If it's absolutely done, he signs a multi-year extension, the door is closed. Okay, let's go ahead and make another move. We know we can't do it. But until we know that, and I don't think we know that at all before the start of the season, because this could drag out until mid-season. Trade deadline is what I'm talking about. You hold them 2 picks until then, honestly. Or you make sure you're in a position to be able to effectively offer enough for Kyrie Irving at that time. However you can do that. So that's what I would say for Rob. You smarten that particular aspect of the situation. I don't know if they're smartened, but if you cater your thought to that, in my opinion, because he's the only piece that can get us where we want to go, man. I like Miles Turner, but he ain't gonna get us there. I like Buddy Hield, but he's gonna have to make a big jump for us to have him get us over the top. We're gonna be a good playoff team if we make this Pacer move. Don't get it twisted. I'm not saying we can't win at all. I'm just saying when it comes to what type of ceiling we're talking about, that roster to me looks second round to me. At best, absolute best, we're gonna get to the second round and probably get knocked off by the Warriors or something like that. You're just not gonna be good enough to beat those teams. When you bring in Kyrie Irving, you're giving the defense on the other side an entire monster they have to deal with. Buddy don't do that. Miles don't do that. You get more balance, in some ways, depending on how well they play, depending on how you shake out the roster. But at the end of the day, you don't have that special piece that's going to go crazy. You don't have that dude that is capable of going for 60 while AD and Bron are doing whatever it is that they're doing, which is going to be a lot. So at that point, you're like, if you want a repeat of 2021, when we had Dennis Schroeder and Dwight Howard, or was it Dwight Howard? No, it was Trez. You know what I'm saying? Then do the Pacer deal. We'll be that good. It's just solid. Like, I'm telling you, that team was cool. We started the season off really good that year. We just couldn't make it through the season because we relied too much upon AD and LeBron James and couldn't get it done. They got injured. So I don't know that our roster is constructed for that to not be the case again if we don't do this deal. It's going to be on them and a lot of them to get it done. So I tell you the truth, as a fan, I don't believe the completion of this basketball team to start this season is as pressing as having it a championship level basketball team by the end of the season. Now, there are a million ways to get there. Choose one, you know what I'm saying? But to me, that's how you look at it. It's like, all right, are we complete? No. This is a long damn season, man. That first couple of weeks, you could win those games or lose those games either way and still feel good about your chances as the season progresses if you're building properly and everybody's got their right habits going on and coaches doing all that good stuff anyway. But, you know, if you cap your ceiling off by making a trade like this at the beginning of the season, halfway through the season you're going to wish you didn't. That kind of thing. It's like, it's a long season, man. So, yes, are we starting the team off the wrong way if we start the season with Russell Westbrook? Absolutely. In the grand scheme of things, when, say, random date December 15th comes around, will we care? I don't think so. We'll care on opening night. By the time 2-3 weeks into the season starts, we won't give a damn. Why? Because we'll know that we'll be in a firm position to trade for Kyrie Irving at that time. We'll know it. Why? Because everything that I think is going to play out is going to play out. Are they going to give him his money? No. Is TJ Warren going to turn into a superstar? No. Like, these are things that I know ain't going to happen. Is Patty Mills going to turn back the clock? No. Is Claxton going to turn into the defensive player? No. Is Ben Simmons going to make it all the way through the season? No. These things are not happening. And I respect Ben Simmons. I know he's going to come in with great conditioning, but he's going to be the lone defensive player. He's going to have to guard players like Giannis, and he's coming off a bad back. No. Not to mention that we're not certain where he's going to be mentally in terms of shooting the ball, spacing, things of that nature. Question marks, question marks, question marks. No. I know what's going to happen to Brooklyn. They got to figure it out. They got to figure it out in a hardcore Eastern Conference. Everybody's like, they got to be the best team. Okay. All right. But let's see how they handle the Kyrie Irving contractual situation. That's going to determine whether or not we can actually acquire Kyrie Irving, not how well the Nets are doing. Trust you me. They're not going to want him to walk, man. At the end of the day, he's too important of a piece to walk, and they are a very prideful bunch. And if they were going to pay him, they'd already done it. And we would have never seen none of this nonsense that just took place. They went back to the drawing board because they could not make a trade, not because everybody fell back in love with the Nets. Don't lose sight of that. My name is BDF44. I thank you all for watching. I'm out.